Today, let's talk about an aspect of rhabdomyolysis that is not often talked about, and that is the lawsuits that have resulted from personal trainers and coaches that have accidentally triggered this condition. This may be one of the earliest lawsuits stemming from exercise-induced rhabdomyolysis. It occurred in a 23-year-old medical student at Rush Medical College in Chicago. He was asked to take part in an experiment for one of his classes, which consisted of a timed 1-mile run in under 8 minutes. From what I can tell, he wasn't medically screened for this run, and he didn't train for it either, and it wasn't part of any fitness program. Rather, it was part of an academic exercise. While he did complete the run, he also developed rhabdomyolysis, spent 2 weeks in the hospital, and incurred over $250,000 in medical bills. While he went on to sue the college and the professor, oddly, he lost his lawsuit because it was felt that there was nothing to indicate that he was anything other than a healthy 23-year-old college student. And I thought that was odd because this was at a medical school where one would think that they would learn about exercise-induced rhabdo. In this article, which dates to 2004, it's claimed that a 37-year-old man developed rhabdomyolysis at a gym after a free personal training session that was part of his membership deal. It's reported that prior to the workout, he told the trainer that he had not worked out in a long time, continued to drink alcohol, and had only recently quit smoking. He claimed that he was told by the personal trainer to continue his workout even though he was showing signs of distress, and while the trainer did cut the workout short, 2 days later he found himself in the hospital where he was diagnosed with exercise-induced rhabdo, and he sued for over $1 million. In this lawsuit, which stemmed from an incident that occurred in 2014, a 30-year-old man in Australia developed rhabdo after a personal trainer-led workout, which caused him to take legal action asking for $200,000 in damages. Here's a lawsuit that I found on an attorney's website where a woman developed rhabdo after taking an indoor cycling class at SoulCycle. She retained legal counsel and eventually won in court, being awarded 7 figures. In 2011, several members of the University of Iowa Hawkeyes football team were hospitalized with rhabdo after workouts that consisted of 100 squats and 100 bench presses. Some players were reported stating that they couldn't walk or feel their arms after the workout. One of those players later sued the University of Iowa and settled his court case for $15,000. In this next really unfortunate incident, which actually divided a community, several members of a Texas high school football team developed rhabdo after a very aggressive workout that consisted of over 300 push-ups. This ultimately led to the head coach resigning his position at the high school, but things got worse for the coach and several members of his staff when parents of one of those student athletes later sued them and is asking for $250,000 in damages. Unfortunately, following this incident is another rhabdo lawsuit at this very same high school, this time involving instructors and a cheerleading workout. And what really got my attention with this case was where one of the instructors involved in this cheerleading incident stated that they had never received any training on rhabdo. And when I read that, I said to myself, didn't you get my book? I sent the principal of this high school my book on rhabdomyolysis after the incident involving the football players. I think I even offered to do an in-service with their staff. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from anyone. And then there's this incident involving the University of Oregon football team where several members of that team developed rhabdo following an overly aggressive workout. One of those students later levied a lawsuit against them, which began as a $11.5 million lawsuit. That ultimately jumped to a whopping $125 million lawsuit that included not only the University of Oregon, but the coaches and the NCAA as well. In the end, the University of Oregon settled with the student for $500,000. The coaches also settled privately, and ironically, even though the NCAA was found negligent, they didn't have to pay anything. Now, these are not the only lawsuits out there, and I would imagine that most cases go unreported in the media, but at the end of the day, all of these lawsuits point to the same simple truth, and that is that rhabdo is almost always preventable. The real problem here is not bad luck, rather it's a lack of education. Coaches, personal trainers, teachers, and even medical professionals keep making the same avoidable mistakes because no one ever taught them about what rhabdo looks like, how fast it can develop, or how easily it can be triggered in some people. Education is the best defense against rhabdo, and that is why I wrote my book on rhabdomyolysis, to give people the practical information they need to avoid these tragedies before they start.